In the annals of the Roman Empire, few figures are as controversial and influential as Galerius, whose rise to power marked one of the most turbulent periods in the empire's history. He became a crucial component of the unique system of governance known as the Tetrarchy, meticulously designed by Emperor Diocletian to stabilize the vast empire. Galerius's reign was a whirlwind of grand military campaigns, especially against the mighty Sasanian Empire, where his strategies brought both brilliant triumphs and bitter defeats. However, equally significant were the internal upheavals caused by fierce power struggles with prominent rivals such as Constantine and Maxentius, whose ambitions sowed the seeds of future civil wars. Galerius is infamously known as one of the most ruthless persecutors of Christians, whose edicts led to untold suffering and martyrdom. Yet, surprisingly, towards the very end of his life, at a moment when his fate seemed sealed, he made a dramatic turn, unexpectedly shifting his stance toward religious tolerance, leading to the issuance of the famous Edict of Toleration. The exact year of this complex ruler's birth remains a mystery to historians, though most researchers believe he was born approximately between 250 and 260 AD. The early Christian author Lactantius, known for his writings, sought to emphasize Galerius's barbarian origin, portraying him as a man who rose from the humblest beginnings. Lactantius specifically noted that the future emperor's mother, Romula, was forced to flee across the Danube, escaping raids by the warlike Carpi, which eloquently speaks to the turbulent times. Galerius was born in the province of Dacia Ripensis, which became a refuge for his family. Notably, Emperor Galerius himself adopted the honorable title Dacicus in 257 AD, suggesting that Romula might indeed have fled from the original Dacian province during those perilous years, eventually finding refuge in Dacia Ripensis. It was here, likely around 258 to 260 AD, that Galerius was born, spending his early years in the countryside, engaged in the humble work of a shepherd, tending sheep. Later, as a sign of filial love and respect, this area was named Felix Romuliana, meaning, fortunate Romula, immortalizing his mother. Prior to his appointment as Caesar by Emperor Diocletian, Galerius already had a distinguished military career, serving under acclaimed emperors such as Probus and Aurelian. His extraordinary bravery and exceptional military skills quickly attracted the close attention of his superiors, leading to successive promotions. Galerius's effective leadership and profound strategic thinking contributed to his rapid advancement. It was likely in the harsh conditions of army life that Galerius and Diocletian first met, laying the foundation for a relationship imbued with mutual recognition of military prowess and shared goals for the welfare and prosperity of the Roman Empire. Diocletian, himself an experienced soldier, highly valued military competence and unwavering loyalty, qualities that Galerius fully embodied, fostering deep trust between the two future rulers. On the momentous date of March 1, 293 AD, Galerius was officially appointed Caesar by Emperor Diocletian himself. This crucial appointment was an integral part of Diocletian's broader and far-sighted strategy aimed at stabilizing and ensuring the long-term security of the vast empire, historically known as the Tetrarchy. The Tetrarchy was an innovative system of governance that divided the Roman Empire into 4 administrative parts, each ruled by either a full-fledged emperor, Augustus, or his deputy, Caesar. Diocletian, as the senior Augustus with supreme authority, chose Galerius as one of the 2 Caesars, a position directly subordinate to the 2 Augusti. Thus, with Diocletian governing the east and Maximian leading the west, Constantius Chlorus was appointed as the second Caesar under Maximian, to effectively assist in the administration of the empire's vast and diverse territories. Galerius was chosen for this responsible position due to his undeniable military talents and unwavering loyalty, having demonstrated his outstanding potential in countless military endeavors on the extensive frontiers of the Roman state. Furthermore, the decision for his appointment was significantly influenced by Emperor Diocletian's desire to have a constellation of powerful and competent leaders capable of effectively managing the multifaceted and often challenging regions of the vast state. Such a choice vividly demonstrated the boundless trust Diocletian bestowed upon Galerius, seeing in him not merely an executor, but a reliable collaborator in governing the immense empire. In his new capacity as Caesar, Galerius was entrusted with the administration of the strategically important Danubian provinces, a vital region requiring constant oversight and readiness to repel increasing threats from barbarian tribes, who regularly raided Roman lands. In this responsible role, Galerius had to bear not only the burden of military obligations but also assume a wide range of administrative functions, among which were maintaining inviolable law and order, efficient collection of state taxes, and consistent implementation of all aspects of imperial policy aimed at strengthening Rome's power. Under his far-sighted and decisive leadership, the empire's border regions were significantly strengthened, and the steady implementation of large-scale reforms initiated by Diocletian was ensured. Among these, innovative economic measures, such as the famous Edict on Prices, aimed at stabilizing the economy, and highly controversial religious policies, particularly the harsh persecution of Christians, became defining features of the era. Galerius's appointment to such a high post symbolized the dawn of a new phase in the Roman Empire's history, a period of exceptional influence and unprecedented might. This was a level of dominance the great power had not achieved for 90 years, since the reign of the energetic and influential Emperor Septimius Severus. In late 296 AD, a large-scale conflict erupted between the powerful Sasanian and Roman empires. Early the following year, a rebellion in Egypt demanded Emperor Diocletian's immediate attention, forcing him to dispatch Galerius with a reduced contingent of troops to confront the Persians. In the ensuing battle, fought between Carrhae and Callinicum, Galerius faced King Narse but suffered a crushing defeat. Diocletian's exact presence at this battle remains unknown, but he swiftly arrived in Antioch, where he issued an official communique that fully blamed Galerius for the failure. Consequently, Diocletian compelled Galerius to walk a mile ahead of his imperial chariot, with Galerius still clad in the emperor's purple robes, a public humiliation intended to clearly demonstrate his failure. Determined to restore his damaged honor, Galerius meticulously regrouped his forces and assembled a significantly more powerful army. In 298 AD, he launched a surprise attack on King Narse at Sadala, employing superior tactics and fully utilizing the element of surprise. Galerius skillfully led his troops through difficult mountainous terrain, catching the Sasanian army off guard. The Roman legions displayed outstanding discipline and unparalleled combat prowess, completely crushing the Sasanian forces. This fateful battle resulted in a triumphant victory. Narse hastily fled the battlefield, and Galerius captured his wife, his entire harem, countless treasures from his treasury, and most of his court. Buoyed by this triumphant victory, Galerius continued his military campaign with renewed fervor and unwavering determination. The complete destruction of the Sasanian field army and the deep demoralization of their high command granted him a decisive strategic advantage, while simultaneously restoring the lost grandeur of the Roman state. Galerius advanced deep into Sasanian territory, seeking to fully exploit his gained momentum. His legions moved into Mesopotamia with the aim of seizing crucial strongholds and further undermining Sasanian influence. This phase of the campaign culminated in a large-scale siege of the capital, Ctesiphon, where Galerius again achieved a brilliant victory. The series of Roman military triumphs compelled Shah Narse I to initiate peace negotiations. Significant human and material losses, as well as the capture of members of his royal family who were held as hostages, left him no other choice. The peace negotiations culminated in the Treaty of Nisibis in 299 AD. According to the provisions of this agreement, the Sasanian Empire ceded several strategically important areas to Roman jurisdiction, including parts of Armenia and Mesopotamia. This agreement ensured the formation of a more stable and advantageous eastern frontier for the Roman Empire, guaranteeing the protection of imperial borders from potential Sasanian invasions. This grand victory not only solidified Galerius's authority within the Tetrarchy but also heralded a period of almost 40 years of calm in relations with Persia. After the triumphant military campaign against the powerful Sasanian Empire, Galerius's grandeur and political influence within the Roman state significantly strengthened. As one of the central figures in the Tetrarchy system, he steadfastly continued to support and actively implement the large-scale administrative and economic reforms initiated by Diocletian. These fundamental reforms were designed to find effective solutions for the numerous difficulties facing the rapidly expanding Roman Empire, including pressing issues related to effective governance, equitable taxation, and the organizational structure of military power. Galerius actively contributed to a profound reorganization of the empire's provinces, initiating the creation of more compact and, consequently, more easily manageable administrative units. Such restructuring significantly improved the functioning of local self-governance and optimized the tax collection process. Striving to ensure a continuous and stable influx of financial resources for the empire's needs, Galerius resolutely supported the implementation of a more orderly and equitable tax system. These transformations aimed not only to minimize corruption but also to significantly enhance the overall efficiency of the state machinery. Maintaining a strong and combat-ready army remained a matter of paramount importance, and Galerius focused his efforts on the methodical recruitment, thorough training, and strategic deployment of military contingents, thereby guaranteeing reliable protection of the empire's extensive borders. One of the most controversial and significant aspects of Galerius's later reign was undoubtedly his active role in the brutal persecution of Christians. As a deeply convinced adherent of pagan cults, Galerius saw the rapidly growing Christian community as a direct threat to the established Roman religious and social order. Under the powerful influence of his mother Romula, who herself was a devout follower of the ancient Roman gods, Galerius became a fervent proponent of reviving traditional Roman religious practices. In 303 AD, under Diocletian's direct order, but with significant assistance and strong influence from Galerius, the so-called Great Persecution of Christians began. Imperial edicts were immediately issued, mandating the complete destruction of Christian writings and sacred structures, as well as the imprisonment of clergy. Christians faced an agonizing choice: either offer sacrifices to the Roman gods or face severe and often deadly punishment. Despite its exceptional intensity and widespread scope, these persecutions ultimately failed to eradicate Christianity. The Great Persecution is still remembered as one of the most ruthless and extensive attempts to suppress the Christian faith in the history of the Roman Empire. The next key stage in Galerius's life came with the unprecedented abdication of Diocletian and his co-ruler Maximian in 305 AD. This event was unheard of in Roman history, as traditionally emperors ruled either for their entire lives or until they were forcibly overthrown. Diocletian's decision to voluntarily step down was part of his meticulously planned strategy to ensure the smoothest possible transfer of power and maintain stability within the vast empire. Thus, on May 1, 305 AD, Diocletian and Maximian, each in separate solemn ceremonies in Mediolanum and Nicomedia respectively, officially relinquished their imperial powers. Diocletian retired to his lavish palace in Split, while Maximian withdrew to a villa in Italy. This historic event left the positions of Augusti vacant, thereby opening the way for the elevation of the Caesars. Emperor Galerius, who previously held the position of Caesar, was officially proclaimed Augustus, a full co-ruler, for the eastern part of the Roman Empire. During the same period, parallel to this event, Constantius Chlorus, who had previously been Caesar in the west, also received the highest title of Augustus, becoming the supreme ruler of the western territories. Upon becoming Augustus, Galerius gained absolute supreme authority over the vast eastern half of the Roman state, encompassing strategically important regions such as the Balkan Peninsula, Anatolia, Syria, and fertile Egypt. One of Galerius's primary and most significant concerns as the newly appointed Augustus was the strict maintenance of stability and the enhancement of the Tetrarchic system of governance. This innovative structure provided for the division of imperial power among 4 co-rulers with the aim of preventing destructive civil wars and ensuring more effective control over the enormous and diverse empire. In an effort to preserve the fragile balance of power and continuity within the system, Galerius decided to appoint his nephew, Maximinus Daia, to the position of the new Caesar of the East. Meanwhile, in the western territories, Severus, a man in whom Galerius placed great trust and a close friend, was confirmed as Caesar, subordinate to the authority of Constantius Chlorus. Such personnel decisions reflected Galerius's clear desire to solidify his position as the senior and most influential Augustus in the new configuration of power. However, as time would show, these seemingly logical appointments paradoxically led to catastrophic consequences for the long-term stability and very existence of the Tetrarchic system. It should be noted that both Maximian and Constantius had adult sons who, according to the new Tetrarchy structure, were completely excluded from circles of power, deprived of any official positions. Naturally, Maxentius and Constantine, being the heirs of such high-ranking fathers, perceived this exclusion as a personal insult and injustice. In 306 AD, after the death of Constantius Chlorus, his son Constantine, relying on the loyalty of his legions, was immediately proclaimed Augustus directly in Britain, where his troops were stationed. This self-proclaimed elevation did not receive official approval from Galerius, seeking to preserve the established order, agreed to recognize Constantine only as Caesar. Such a divergence of opinions instantly led to significant tension and disruption of the established imperial hierarchy. Almost simultaneously, in the very heart of the empire, in Rome, Maxentius, with the support of his elderly father, who had previously retired from state affairs, successfully seized power. Immediately proclaiming himself Augustus, he promptly began active measures aimed at fully establishing his dominance over the key provinces, Italy and North Africa. In his desire to reassert his authority, Galerius dispatched the Western Caesar Severus to combat Maxentius. However, Severus suffered a crushing defeat, was captured, and ultimately executed. This failure further destabilized affairs in the western provinces, undermining Galerius's already shaken authority. Unyielding in his determination to restore his diminished authority and suppress Maxentius's rebellion, Galerius decided to personally lead a military campaign against his opponent. Subsequently, in 307 AD, he assembled formidable military contingents and marched towards Italy, with the firm intention of once and for all quashing Maxentius's usurpation. However, Galerius's invasion immediately encountered a series of insurmountable difficulties. Logistically supporting the movement of such a numerous army through the challenging Alps deep into Italy proved to be an extremely complex and arduous task. The continuous supply of provisions, drinking water, and necessary equipment to the troops posed a colossal problem. Moreover, the rugged and impassable terrain of northern Italy severely hampered both troop maneuvering and communication, significantly undermining the overall effectiveness of Galerius's military campaign. Meanwhile, Maxentius enjoyed strong support not only in Rome itself but also in other regions of Italy. His ability to mobilize the local population and effectively utilize the city's impressive defensive fortifications served as a serious obstacle to Galerius. Despite all these accumulating difficulties, Galerius stubbornly continued his offensive, hoping for a decisive battle with Maxentius. However, Maxentius, displaying tactical wisdom, prudently avoided direct confrontation in open terrain, preferring instead to fortify his positions within the walls of Rome. All of Galerius's attempts to breach the Eternal City's powerful defenses proved futile. The formidable city walls and Maxentius's skillful strategic use of the urban landscape completely nullified all of Galerius's efforts to capture the city. Unable to achieve the desired decisive victory, Galerius was forced to withdraw his military contingents. Thus, the entire campaign ended in a stalemate. Galerius was unable to dislodge Maxentius from his strong citadel of power in Rome. The failure of Galerius's military campaign against Maxentius entailed a series of profound and significant consequences. Maxentius's successful defense of Rome not only bolstered his legitimacy but also substantially solidified his control over all of Italy. His ability to effectively resist the forces of the senior Augustus significantly enhanced his authority among his supporters, strengthening their loyalty. Galerius's inability to decisively deal with Maxentius became a clear testament to the growing fragmentation and weakening of the meticulously constructed Tetrarchic system. The fragile balance of power, once established by Emperor Diocletian, was increasingly undermined by these internal conflicts, threatening the empire's stability. This campaign also vividly highlighted the changing dynamics of power within the vast Roman Empire. The emergence of Constantine and Maxentius as powerful regional rulers posed a serious challenge to the authority and foundations of the traditional tetrarchs. After his retreat, Galerius, recognizing the critical situation, continued to actively seek ways to stabilize the empire. It was for this purpose that he convened the Council of Carnuntum in 308 AD. The Council of Carnuntum brought together several of the most influential and powerful figures of the Roman Empire of that era. Galerius, holding the position of Senior Augustus of the East, initiated and presided over this fateful gathering. To lend undeniable legitimacy and weighty authority to all procedures and decisions, Diocletian, the distinguished retired emperor, whose wise presence was highly significant, attended the council. Also among the participants was Maximian, the former co-ruler, who, incidentally, was compelled to return from retirement to support his son Maxentius. His goal at the council was to find ways to resolve the ongoing conflicts. The primary objective of this assembly was to settle numerous power clashes and, consequently, restore much-needed stability to the Tetrarchic system. During this crucial meeting in Carnuntum, several decisions were made that had far-reaching consequences for the future of the empire. Aiming to counterbalance the growing influence of Maxentius and Constantine, Galerius made the strategic decision to elevate his loyal and trusted general Licinius to the high rank of Augustus in the west. Licinius was given the paramount task of restoring order in the western provinces and actively supporting all of Galerius's efforts aimed at preserving the integrity and unity of the Tetrarchic system. In addition to personnel changes, the council sought to decisively reaffirm the fundamental principles of the Tetrarchic system, re-emphasizing the vitally important significance of joint rule and an orderly process of succession. Diocletian's presence and his unequivocal approval of these principles played a decisive role in strengthening their legitimacy and public acceptance. Although Maxentius's rule never received official recognition from the council, active attempts were made to establish dialogue with him and reduce the intensity of hostilities. Nevertheless, Maxentius continued to maintain firm control over Rome and steadily asserted his power, acting completely independently of the decisions made at Carnuntum. The Council of Carnuntum represented a significant initiative aimed at restoring much-needed stability within the Roman Empire, yet its actual success proved significantly limited. Licinius's emergence on the political scene and his elevation to a significant position contributed to the establishment of a fragile but effective temporary balance of power, creating a kind of counterbalance to the influence of Maxentius and Constantine. This strategic move prevented the immediate and further dismemberment of the vast imperial territory. Nevertheless, despite all efforts made by the council participants, deep-seated rivalries and an irreconcilable struggle for supreme power continued to rage. Constantine and Maxentius, both possessing colossal power and insatiable ambitions, remained key figures on the political arena, inevitably leading to prolonged and acute conflicts. The appointment of officer Licinius to the position of Augustus during the Council of Carnuntum caused deep resentment in Maximinus Daia, who, as the senior Caesar at the time, reasonably expected to receive this prestigious title for himself. Galerius attempted to alleviate the tension by abolishing the commonly accepted title of Caesar and recognizing both Maximinus Daia and Constantine as sons of the Augusti, Filios Augustorum, by the end of 310 AD. However, by this point, both Caesars had already independently appropriated the title of Augustus and largely disregarded the proposed compromise, deeming it insufficient. This acute confrontation continued until 310 AD, when Galerius, ultimately succumbing to Maximinus Daia's unequivocal ultimatum, was forced to declare that all four members of the imperial college, namely himself, Maximinus, Licinius, and Constantine, would henceforth hold the title of Augustus. By the end of 309 AD or the beginning of 310 AD, the military commander Licinius directed his forces into Italy, advancing from Pannonia. He managed to establish control over several settlements in Istria, which until then had been under Maxentius's rule. Despite these territorial gains, there is no convincing evidence of open military clashes. However, it is notable that Maxentius prudently closed his mints in northern Italy as early as 309 AD, which could have been a preventive measure in anticipation of this imminent invasion. After achieving these modest successes, Licinius nevertheless refrained from further offensive operations in the region, most likely due to the urgent need for his presence on the strategically vital Danubian frontier. Towards the end of his life, Emperor Galerius underwent a profound transformation in his views on the Christian faith. In 311 CE, weakened by a severe and agonizing illness, Galerius issued the historic Edict of Toleration, which definitively ended years of persecution against Christians. The motives behind this unexpected turn of events remain a subject of debate among historians to this day, but the prevailing view is that Galerius sought divine favor during his suffering and simultaneously aimed to stabilize the empire by ending divisive persecutions. This edict of toleration granted Christians the right to openly practice their faith and, notably, included a plea for them to offer prayers for the health of the reigning emperor. By 310 CE, Galerius's health began to rapidly deteriorate. He suffered from a tormenting and debilitating illness, which some ancient sources describe as a severe ulcer or possibly cancer. Galerius's death occurred in late 311 CE. His demise marked not only the conclusion of an entire historical era but also significantly destabilized the already fragile Tetrarchic system of governance. The Roman Empire soon after plunged into new, fierce civil wars as Constantine, Licinius, and Maxentius entered an irreconcilable struggle for supreme control of the state. Galerius's legacy is a complex mosaic, encompassing both outstanding achievements and profound contradictions. His significant military successes and far-sighted administrative reforms contributed substantially to strengthening the stability and power of the Roman Empire, aiding its internal organization and border defense. However, his active role in the persecution of Christians, as well as the numerous challenges he faced in managing rivalries within the Tetrarchy, are also defining features of his reign. Notably, the Edict of Toleration he issued vividly demonstrated Galerius's pragmatic approach to state governance and his readiness to acknowledge the empire's steadily changing religious landscape. This momentous act served as an important precedent, paving the way for the subsequent official adoption of Christianity by the Roman state. Thus, following the pivotal Council of Carnuntum, Galerius continued to navigate the multifaceted challenges of governing a divided empire, skillfully balancing military operations, administrative transformations, and an evolving religious strategy. His efforts to ensure stability and resolve the ongoing power struggles were crucial in shaping the Roman Empire's future path during an era of profound change and severe trials.